I thought I wasn't going to have to talk about this, but here we are again when things resurface. And maybe that's just because the WNBA season is still a few months out and people are bored. Maybe that's because of the fact that the NBA is on a break due to All-Star weekend being over with. But here we are again. We're talking about Aja Wilson. We're talking about Caitlin Clark, and we're talking about Nike. It's a love triangle, it seems like. And it just feels a little frustrating because of the fact of the matter is nobody knows and everybody's speculating. We know for a fact that what happened with Aja Wilson and her new shoe deal that's coming about. We know when Nike announced Caitlin Clark's new deal, 8-year, $28 million shoe deal, and Aja Wilson tweeted delayed, not denied, and all had social media in a frenzy, right? And now it's coming out, and we're going to react to the video with Cheryl Swoops and Aja Wilson. But now it's coming out that Aja Wilson had an NDA, and she knew for 2 years, as she stated, and she was talking about like she couldn't tell her parents and things of that nature. And that's not really a surprise because we know Anthony Edwards and also Sabrina Escu, their deals when they got signed to Nike, they got signed to Adidas. It was like a 1 to 2 year deal, and a lot of people did not know about it. And that's kind of what Nike, Adidas, Under Armour, all these big brands do when we talk about releasing signature shoe deals because they want to get the marketability, they want to get the buzz, they want to get the hypeness. In this case with Aja, I don't know if it necessarily made sense from a marketability standpoint. The shoes are nice, the shoes are phenomenal, but she is top 5 in merchandise sales, so she's a popular WNBA player. She is a superstar, but we know for as like big men and big women, for as like shoes, they don't tend to sell as great or their merchandise doesn't blow up as much as guards. So I don't really know about that. But the issue is essentially when we're talking about this, basically Nike and Aja kept their deals a secret. Whether you believe that Aja Wilson had an NDA or whatever the case may be, I'm not here to state that. I can only believe what's coming out of her mouth. And she showed the Aja ones. They look fire. The colorway, the design, the technology that is on her shoes is mirroring Sabrina Escu's. Like it's a beautiful basketball shoe. I think it's going to do very, very well. I think it's going to sell. But she came out and said she had to keep it a secret from her parents for almost 2 years at NDA, and she only revealed the shoe to them before its official launch, showing them the design and the details. And that secrecy had to protect the brand's release timeline which is coming up in May. So we're going to get into all the other stuff. And basically on social media, a lot of people are a little annoyed and a little frustrated because of the fact of the matter is when Caitlin Clark had her signature shoe deal, 8-year, $28 million, which is an incredibly terrible deal, I must say. It doesn't reflect Caitlin Clark's value. But Aja came out and tweeted those things, delayed, not denied, Psalms 37:7, and basically it took away from Caitlin Clark's moment, and it kind of had people saying, "Why does Aja doesn't have a shoe deal? Caitlin Clark doesn't deserve a shoe deal before this." But it was a lot of just social media buzz, and it was very chaotic when all that stuff went down. And the thing about it is, the WNBA is a very petty sport league, and women will always feel some type of way against other women because nature, that like when we talk about things that are in their nature sometimes, and I don't mean this, I'm not saying all women, but like women compete. Women want to be the best. Women are going to feel some type of way. And it's not just a woman thing, it can be a man thing as well. But we're seeing it more so in the WNBA than the NBA side. When we talk about the game of basketball, when we talk about endorsement deals, when we talk about all those great things, it just seems like this league has a lot of issues in comparison to the NBA. Maybe that's because it's new, but the fact of the matter is women can be very petty. people can be very petty. But Aja Wilson does not have to care about making Caitlin Clark and her fan base upset. She doesn't have to care about her tweets being read the wrong way. And even though she had an NDA, her tweeting that, she knew what she was doing. And we can call a spade. And it's okay. It's okay because at the end of the day, she quoted a Bible verse. And in that Bible verse is basically saying, like, telling people to calm down, don't be envious of others, and things of that nature. That's what the Bible verse. Go read Psalms 37:7. And I would say both fans on both sides overreacted. They both overreacted. And that's what tends to happen when you have two large fan bases in Aja Wilson and also Caitlin Clark. But it's not up to Aja Wilson to feel like she can't tweet and make a tweet just like everybody makes tweets and everybody shares their opinion. So whether fans want to take it one way or not, it's not up to Aja Wilson to make anybody feel comfortable. This is the big girl league. This is the WNBA. This is what it's about. It's competitive. People want their shine. People want their recognition. People are going to feel some type of way with Caitlin Clark coming in and taking all the credit and taking all the momentum and not necessarily Aja's mind, giving her the respect that she deserves for carrying this league and being the best player in the world on both sides of the basketball floor. And also, that's why when I say things about Caitlin Clark, when she comes out and Caitlin Clark's constantly trying to say the right things and do the right things, if I was her, I would say F it, because people aren't giving you that benefit of the doubt. People aren't treating you that way. So why are you so worried about doing that to other players? And it's not like a one-up thing, but it's just like, that's why we see Caitlin Clark when she's on the court, she's electric, she talks her shit, she's popping into the fans, she's going through the other team's huddle. Like she's when there's a timeout, like she's I love that energy. I think she needs to have some of that same energy off the court. And recently when she did an interview, she basically stated like, I'm confident for the retirement for Iowa. Like, I'm confident in my ability. I know who I am. And basically, I love when she talks that way, because at the end of the day, it's a dog-eat-dog world. It's a dog-eat-dog game. Everybody wants their credit. Everybody wants their shine. And I would say, to be honest, for us, Nike has just been kind of dropping the ball on some of these things when it comes to just the overall general public. And if you're going to drop a 8-year, $28 million announcement for Caitlin Clark, and you have Aja Wilson, who has to sign an NDA and not really talk about it, even though she has a release date now, and she comes out and says this, I knew about it for 2 years. From a marketability standpoint, that doesn't necessarily make sense for Aja, and also doesn't make sense for the people that's going to quickly point to Caitlin Clark getting something that they feel that Aja Wilson should have, because she's the best WNBA player in the world and has been, and she's on her ascension to GOAT level type potential. So it just seems like Nike kind of dropped the ball on this, and both of the fan bases are colliding, and they're really going head on and exploding all these different narratives, all these different agendas, when the fact of the matter is, it's really kind of Nike's fault a little bit. Joseph Pullman, Nike did Caitlin a disservice, no doubt about that. They seen the drama, the hate, they let it ride. Not cool. And this is what some people are going to come out and say. Joseph is actually absolutely right. When it comes down to it, Caitlin Clark did receive a lot of hate. Caitlin Clark did receive a lot of volatile attention with something that she didn't have anything to do with. And the fact of the matter, she really, for some people, are going to say she couldn't even enjoy her moment because of the issue that I just explained with the marketability, with the secrecy with Aja Wilson, with them releasing her deal and the number that she received, and the conversation around everything that tends to happen in the WNBA on social media for its fan bases going back and forth and blowing things up out of proportion. But when you see things that are happening to your favorite player, when you see things that are going on and it's kind of biases for certain players and biases against certain players, people are going to speak out and people are going to notice because people aren't stupid at the end of the day. So let me share the screen. So Joseph is exactly right about what he's mentioning and what he's stating. And it's very interesting. Let's get to it.
I want everybody to hear me say right now. It's about fucking time.
Yeah.
You can believe that if you want. But it is.
And it's interesting because Sheryl Swoopes, as we know, she was the first ever woman in WNBA history to get a signature shoe from Nike. She is the GOAT, regardless if she's the number one Caitlin Clark hater in the world. She is the GOAT, but also that stems from, once again, she used to wear number 22. She sees Caitlin Clark coming in with her number. She sees Caitlin Clark coming in with all this like GOAT level potential. And just like the old heads in the NBA, they're hating on the younger generation. TNT, that's just a hate segment against the younger generation and the younger guys and the guys in the game right now. But that happens, and that's part of the brand growing. That's part of the WNBA growing. But her being here is hilarious, I would definitely say. But also, I get it. It's hilarious, but it's like it makes sense.
I feel so lucky to be a part of the Nike basketball family for more than 30 years now. And I love to see how the brand continues to champion women's basketball and athletes who play it. I didn't text Asia. I didn't call Asia. I'm talking like you're not here right now. When the announcement came out, and just a couple of weeks ago, because I didn't have the words. This moment today is not just about Asia Wilson. This moment today is not just about what Sheryl Swoopes did. This moment is so much bigger than the two of us. And I was talking to John a few minutes ago, and I said, back in 1997, when I got my first signature shoe, Nike didn't even have a women's sports marketing department. And look where we are today.
That's Black history, man. And it's very special. And that's why Sheryl Swoopes is there, because she was the first ever woman athlete to have their own signature shoe. She is one of the GOATs. She is one of the pioneers. She is on the Mount Rushmore of WNBA and women's basketball when we talk about some of the greatest basketball players of all time. Forget all the stuff that she has done and said this past year. When it's all said and done, you still got to give her flowers and respect.
This moment right now for me fills my heart, it fills my soul, it fills my spirit. And I'm so grateful and I'm so thankful that Nike finally got it. They got it in 97 because they did something that no one else dared to do. They've always been the brand company that thinks outside of the box. And I always say somebody had to be the first. And I was blessed enough and lucky enough that I got to be the first. And here we are, almost 30 years later, to have another Black woman to have her own signature shoe. I'm not looking at you right now. That's big. And it's not just for all the Black girls out there, it's for every little girl out there that dares to dream, that dares to have hope, that dares to say, I too can have my own shoe. I too can be an Asia Wilson.
Respect. That's definitely respect. Let's hear what Asia got to say. That's what we want to hear as well.
I want to say literally maybe a day before my jersey retirement. Okay. And they were like stunned, like, and then I think my mom was like, yep, of course, I knew it was going to be pink. Like they all knew they had to do something with pink, but they were just so happy. My dad, I think he was holding back tears. He does this thing with his lips where he was like, he tried to hold him back. He did that. And it was just a like happy moment for the Wilson family, and I was just so appreciative to have them. And they got their pair, so that's when it really kind of seeped in, and like they can see it in their size. So they love on the shoe. My dad's like, "What are the other colorways?" I was like, "All right, calm down. You're gonna get your pair." They have a black label pair now, so it's definitely big. Because once you let the family know, they're gonna want to know everything, and you can't give them everything. So this was a secret I had to keep from them, but I'm glad they love it.
And then what was it just like with the emotion with Cheryl welcoming you to the family?
Man, it's that moment there, it's indescribable. It's surreal. Like someone like Cheryl, she's done so much for our league, for me. So to share that moment with her is truly powerful, and I'm glad that I can make her happy. Like everyone that laid the foundation down for me to be where I am today. Like this is who this shoe's for.
And Joseph, I'm gonna get to you in a second, but I will say this: it is a big moment. It's a big deal happening in Black History Month. And shout outs to Aja Wilson and the Aja Ones. It's a very unique shoe. It's going to be fire. It's definitely going to sell and do extremely well. It's a big moment for Nike. Nike constantly gets it right, does it right. And that's why when they say just do it, they are one of the most powerful brands. Even though Nike in the last few years have been going through a transition, probably for the first time since literally when they created their brand, for its like sales kind of decreasing, them having to kind of retool, redefine certain things for its their apparel, for its their product, for its like other organization and brands kind of competing with them in the space, like Anthony Edwards and the A1s and things of that nature. So that's something that we're seeing right now with Nike. But this is a big moment. And the thing about it is, it's a big moment, and people feel some type of way because Caitlin Clark, when Nike announced her deal, it was a big moment for her as well. But you're not seeing Caitlin Clark tweet. You're not seeing Caitlin Clark come out and say anything. And that's why some people are doing the compare and contrast with this moment with the past moment. That's why we're talking about this once again, because it just feels like give people their flowers, let people have their moment, and let them enjoy their moment. But unfortunately, we live in a space of social media. We live in a space of competitors. We live in a space of, I want people to know that I am the best. I want people to see me. I want people to view me as who I need to be viewed as and what I've done for this league. And things can be unfair sometimes, but that's life. Life is unfair. It's women right now and men right now that aren't playing basketball for a living and are dealing with traumatic things that are going on in their lives. Life is unfair. That's why with God's grace, it's no respect of person, and you should be thankful each and every day due to God's grace and God's mercy. So Joseph comes out. He says Swoops was the first to get a triple-double in the WNBA, first to get a guaranteed contract, first to get a signature shoe. Why hate on Caitlin Clark other than jealousy, in my opinion? And the thing about it is jealousy is just love and hate at the same time. That's what jealousy is. It's love and hate at the same time. You're hating on somebody, but you secretly love them. You love somebody, but you secretly hating on them. That jealousy is love and hate at the same time. Because a lot of times when you see a transcending figure come into the league with the momentum that Caitlin Clark came into, with the buzz, with the game as well, with the marketability, with the fan base, if you're Aja Wilson, you're going to feel like a little threatened. If you're some of these GOATs, like it's Cheryl Swoops, you're going to feel a little threatened because of the fact of the matter is you're seeing a trailblazer. It's the same situation when Kobe Bryant came into the league. It's the same situation when LeBron James came into the league. That's what happens when you're even a Michael Jordan. That's what happens when you're a transcending type of talent and figure. So that's just what it is when we talk about all of these issues that have came about for the Nike deal with Aja Wilson. When Caitlin Clark announcement came, the 8-year, $28 million deal, and Aja tweeted what she tweeted. Regardless, nobody can get at Aja's mind. We can't read her mind. We don't know what she was thinking. She could just been tweeting, just like we all tweet, sharing her opinion. the timing doesn't really, it's kind of like, yeah, she could have, but the timing is kind of a little weird, a little awkward, but we don't know. But the fact of the matter is she signed an NDA. She has her signature shoe, and Caitlin Clark fans and WNBA basketball fans are just bringing this to attention and saying, yo, shout out to her, congrats to her. But when Caitlin Clark got her deal, it was crazy. You tweeted this and you said that. Regardless of what side that you fall on, at the end of the day, the game is the game. And it is what it is. So you got people talking. And here we go right here. Caitlin Clark is expected to receive a signature shoe from Nike per Shams. Here will be the list of active WNBA players with a current signature shoe. You had Sabrina Esco, you had Caitlin Clark, you had Breanna Stewart. Now, here's the tweets. These are tweets that happened in real time when this was mentioned. A'ja Wilson is a 2-time league MVP, 2-time WNBA champion, 2-time defensive player of the year, a finals MVP, a 5-time WNBA all-star, best-selling author. Is probably somewhere like, damn, what does she got to do? Like, and this is real emotion. This is why when that tweet happened, delayed, not denied, people were like, okay, here we go. Always remember what is delayed, not denied. Psalms 37:7. Now, from a perspective of A'ja Wilson, she could have been tweeted that to be like, yo, sitting on her couch, smiling, laughing, and like, yo, I'm always remember delayed, not denied. Like, I got my deal. I just can't speak on it. Like, I see people talking on social media. I see people going off about me not having a signature shoe deal, but I got it, not delayed, you know. Always remember, what is delayed is not denied. Like, I'm cool. Psalms 37:7. Like, I'm cool. Like, it ain't no beef. But when everybody was attacking and going off and taking shots at Caitlin Clark, she didn't say anything about it. But the thing about it is, she didn't have to say anything about it, because at the end of the day, it's competition. She knew what she was doing, whether she had an NDA or not. She tweeted something, whether that could be one variation of me saying, like, she's sitting on the couch tweeting like, oh, it's all good. Not remember, what's delayed is not denied. But another point could be like, let me tweet this cryptic message and throw it out in the universe and then see what's going to happen. And then it was other tweets that were going off, and people were saying, like, her teammates, I'm going to have a signature shoe for A'ja at this point, and A'ja's with the laughing emoji. Like, it's several tweets like that happened during this time. So it was a very chaotic day, very chaotic time. And people are upset because they felt that it was a lot of hate going towards Caitlin Clark, a lot of unnecessary shots going towards Caitlin Clark and things that she couldn't necessarily control, when all along, as we find out, A'ja Wilson got a signature shoe deal, and she had it for 2 years. So it is what it is. Let me know in the chat what y'all think. Is that crazy? If y'all think that's crazy, let me know in the chat. You're right. She didn't have to say anything, but her doing that article saying Caitlin's deal was about race wasn't necessary. Ooh, VVS in the chat. Ooh. And the thing about it, when you read that article, she did not necessarily say Caitlin Clark's name. She did say about, like, forest opportunities and marketability and things of that nature. Things are going to be more difficult than her counterparts. I think that's what she was alluding to, because even though this situation between A'ja Wilson and Caitlin Clark, I feel like it's Nike did them both a disservice, it was still Sabrina Esco had her deal before A'ja Wilson, and that probably shouldn't have happened. You get what I'm saying? So that brings validity to what A'ja Wilson is saying. It just unfortunately had to come in on the back end of Caitlin Clark, who is a transcending talent, a trailblazer, a woman that's extremely gifted and probably deal is bigger than Sabrina and A'ja's combined, to be honest. I don't know the logistics of Sabrina or A'ja Wilson's deal, but I know it's not probably as big as Caitlin Clark's, neither one. So I get what you're saying, but I think that's also comes to play on what Aja Wilson is saying and stating in that article, talking about issues and challenges when it comes to being a Black woman within the WNBA in comparison to their counterparts, because Sabrina never should have had a shoe deal before Aja Wilson. So it's a dicey, it's very dicey, it's very deep, it's layers to all this. And to me, somebody that has no stake in the game, I'm for what's right. And I just want to talk about basketball. I just want to talk about hoops. But you can point to Caitlin Clark's fan base having legitimate arguments based on how they feel right now. And you can point to Aja Wilson's fan base and the Las Vegas Aces, fan base having legitimate arguments. But at the end of the day, they're both top 5 in merchandise sales, with Caitlin Clark being number 1 and Aja Wilson being number 5 this past year. I feel your point. I know when CC stuff dropped, it's selling out anyway. So salute to Aja's shoe. Yeah, and Aja's shoe is beautiful. It's going to do well. I hope it does well, because I think what's the problem is, from a person like me on the outside looking in, for just a no bias, strictly analyst perspective, the problem is for me that I feel like it all spews around competition, all spews around kind of like jealousy is love and hate at the same time. It all spews around competitiveness, and also you got one person that's at the top, you got another one that's ascending. For it's a WNBA game, they not really buddy. And it just seems like for years, for people, because I'm not new to this, I'm true to this when it comes to watching the WNBA analysts, analyzing the WNBA, speaking on the WNBA. Like, I've been watching the WNBA for years. Like, I'm extremely old in comparison to some of these new viewers and casual fans that came along the ride this season. But unfortunately, people have talked about so much about how they want the popularity to increase, the revenue, the streaming, the merchandise deals, the endorsement deals. They want all these things to increase. That's all we heard for years. And now they get that, and it's like they're not ready for the moment. Players aren't ready for the moment. The league is not ready for the moment. And social media is not ready for the moment. The players being on social media. You think that NBA players are going on social media and typing their names up after games and really engaging and finding trolls with 2-3 followers who are being racist and tweeting at these trolls and saying that's Caitlin Clark's fan base, when that's not her fan base at all? Those are just people that are trolls and got their own rhetoric that they want to push and spew, which is hatred that we don't endorse, that the WNBA doesn't endorse, the NBA doesn't endorse. All these things are essentially happening because the WNBA is a growing league. That's where the number 1 most growing league in 2024. And these are part of the issues that they're going to have to deal with for them to get bigger. It can't always be all this crying. Because essentially that's what it feels. It's so much crying. It's so much this fan base and that fan base, and they did this and they did that. The thing about it is, from an analyst standpoint, from an unbiased standpoint, we want the league to grow. We want to talk about hoops. We want to see the best basketball product on the floor. We want people to watch. And I hate to say it, but all attention is good intention, but it's a lot of crying when it's not good intention. If it's bad attention, let's talk about it. Let's move on. If it's good attention, let's talk about it and move on. But the NBA, the NFL, they deal with this shit on a regular. It just feels like it's too much. Like, 1 minute you want people to watch, next minute you want to gatekeep new viewers and casual fans that are coming into the league. So it's just like, which one is it? It's like you want your cake, you want your ice cream, and you want your cake. You want to eat it all at the same time. You want everything, but you don't want the other stuff that may come a part of eating cake and ice cream, like diabetes or like a sugar coma, whatever the case may be. I know I'm just talking shit, but it's just like people want to they want all the good, but they want none of the bad. That's not going to happen with a growing league. So it's like you got to deal with it. and you also got to be 10 toes down into what you say and back up what you say and don't backtrack. There's a lot of backtracking going on. It's a lot of playing victim going on. It's a lot of crying going on. And to be honest, it's kind of annoying for a person like me that's really just want to talk about the basketball product and the on-court production and these women producing and playing the game at a high level. VVS, yes, indeed. Agent put the gas on that whole situation. 2025 is going to be awesome, but Swoops as a Hall of Famer should be held to a higher standard. Joseph, I mean, you can say that about any. Are we saying that about Shaq? Are we saying that about Charles Barkley? So the thing about it is, when it comes to old heads commentating on the game, having favoritism, having favorites, having bias, this ain't nothing new. This is all a part of the sport growing. This is what I'm talking about. We can't cry about it because we got a legend that's hating on another up-and-coming phenom that has baby GOAT potentials. I'll call it baby GOAT, Caitlin Clark. But this is what LeBron has dealt with his whole career. This is what you want. If it's no pressure, people ain't talking about you. So Caitlin Clark got that pressure. She got the eyes. She got everybody talking, whether it's good and bad. This is what you want. This is what she's going to have to deal with because she's that talented. She's that good. She's that gifted, and she has that much potential. So I'm not going to feel bad for Caitlin Clark, and I'm not going to feel bad for Aja Wilson, and I'm not going to feel bad for Cheryl Swoops talking like an old head because we didn't feel bad for LeBron. We didn't feel bad for Kobe. We don't feel bad for Shaquille O'Neal constantly talking about Dwight Howard every chance he gets. We don't feel bad for Charles Barkley shitting on players left and right. We don't get bad for media members and old heads talking about Zion Williamson and his weight. It's part of the game. It's part of the growth. It's part of basketball. And it is what it is. BBS, you think Paige Becker's going to go into the top 5 jersey sales when she drafted? And the thing about it is, I want to say yes because she's extremely popular, but I hope she don't get drafted to the Dallas Wings. That's a terrible situation. I think that's going to kill so much momentum for her. I don't think it's not going to work, in my opinion. You know, they got Smith and DJ Carrington down there. They're dating. Wherever you feel about that situation, but it's just like I just don't feel like that's a great fit for Paige. If I'm Paige and I'm her team, I'm trying to do whatever in my power to make sure that I am not going to Dallas. Even if I got to come back next year or saying I'm going to come back next year or just sign and train for the following year. But I do not want Paige. If I'm Paige, I do not want to go to Dallas no matter what. I don't think it's a great situation. I know Enrique is down there, but I just don't think it's a great situation. I like their team. If they had their team from last year and that was what Paige was going into, I think that would be better. But, yeah, I think Paige can be top 5 in jersey sales. Why not? I mean, she's Paige Beckers, but Paige need to worry about this UConn run and going on a deep run in the March Madness because right now she's not even I don't even know if she's a top 3 basketball player in the college this past season. She may be number 1 overall pick, but it's Juju has been better. Hannah Hidalgo has been better. The big girl has been better. I forgot her name. Also, Olivia Miles has been better, in my opinion. It's been a lot of basketball players that have been better than Paige Beckers this year. And for whatever reason, Paige hasn't really lived up to a lot of people's expectations this season. And the season is winding down. We got March Madness on the way, so hopefully it's time for her to show up and show out for real. I was neutral on Dallas to DJ and I guess went there. I heard they broke up. Sounds like a toxic locker room. I don't know about the situation if they broke up or not, but it just seems like a great environment. It doesn't seem like an environment that you want your potential franchise player being drafted into, to be honest. I don't think it's a great situation. And Maria right now, Marina Mabrey, is for the Connecticut Sun. She wants to be out. Maybe if you're the Connecticut Suns, maybe you try to package some draft picks and maybe to Dallas to try to get the number 1 overall pick, including her in the draft in that trade maybe to try to get her. But anywhere but, and that'll be a good for Connecticut because they're kind of starting over. But that's something that if I'm the Connecticut Sun, I'm looking into. They already said they don't want to trade Maria, even though Maria wants out. Maria always wants out. She went out with the Dallas. She went out with Chicago Sky. Now she wants out with the Connecticut Sun. But the worst thing about when a player wants out and other teams know they want out, that kind of decreases their market. And also in a locker room, it can get very toxic. But also it just doesn't make sense to keep a player that doesn't want to be there. So if you're Connecticut Sun and maybe you can package some picks and package Maria for Dallas and try to get the number 1 overall draft pick and you draft Paige and you start your franchise over, and that would be perfect if you're Connecticut. You're talking about Paige Beckers, who plays with UConn right now. She can stay right out there in Connecticut. That would be the perfect situation for Connecticut. That would be the perfect situation for Maria. She gets to go to a Dallas team that had a player, Dejanay, on her team last year, Enrique, and she's in her prime right now. And Dallas can go out and compete and have a really deep roster and a playoff contender. That would make sense for both parties. And if you're Paige, you don't have to worry about going to Dallas because her team, it's been rumors, a lot of things that are coming out that Paige is not interested in playing for the Dallas Wings. Now, who knows if she's going to force the issue or not, but where there's smoke, there's fire. But a trade between the Connecticut Sun and the Dallas Wings, draft picks Maria for that number 1 overall pick, and Connecticut, you get Paige, you get a player that you can build your franchise around, and because the Connecticut Sun are basically starting over from scratch. You're building your franchise around Paige. That is a great way to kick off the next back half of this decade for the Connecticut Sun. So that's something the Connecticut Suns, if I was the GM or the president, I would do, because having Maria on your team and she doesn't want to be there, it's not going to work in the long run. It's not going to work for the entirety of the next 2025-2026 season. So I think Paige will get better after leaving Gino. She just seems all over the place. Yeah, Paige, she plays off the ball. She plays on the ball. Gino came out and said that she wants the ball until she got to be guarded and picked up, 90 feet. And for it's like Paige's game, I don't view Paige as a tweener. She's a combo guard. I know she has got a handle on her and she can get busy. She can make some moves. But I'd look at her, Sabrina Uescu, in the same like. Sabrina, I think Paige has a better handle. Paige has a better handle than Sabrina. But Sabrina's not really a natural, true point guard. She's a tweener. She's a combo guard. I look at Paige as that same type of way. I don't think Paige is going to come in and you put the ball in her hands. I don't think she's going to generate 25 to 30 points per game. She's not Caitlin Clark. I don't view that. I think for as like a scoring, you let her score and get money, whether it's off ball, on the ball, running sets for her, she can be very, very vital. She can be very, very good. The only thing about Paige that I want her to see her develop more is her pushing the envelope a little bit more, meaning that push the issue. You say you want the ball, go get the ball. You say you don't want to run sets all the time. All right, we ain't running sets, ISO at the wing. Let me go get a bucket. It just feels like she waits too. And when in closing time, stretch, the closing moments, clutch time, like she gets the ball, she's ready to go. She shows that she's capable of being that go-to girl, that go-to player. But she needs to force the issue more. It's just like she's just too smooth. She's too cool sometimes. It's almost like with Kevin Durant. That's what people used to say about Kevin Durant in his career. It's just like Kevin Durant plays within the system. Sometimes we want Kevin Durant to go out and force the issue and be like, give me the damn ball, get the hell out the way. He did that in his Golden State Warrior years, but that was part of some of the issues that Oklahoma City Thunder had with Kevin Durant for us, that not being as assertive as he needed to be. And then you had Russ doing Russ and Serge Ibaka and James Harden and the crew and things of that nature. So that's what it was. And, speaking of Kevin Durant came out and basically was tweeting and he was talking about how the All-Star game, how a lot of people are crying. Like talking about the All-Star game. I think it's more fun to complain about the NBA than actually watch it. Crazy. Kansas All-Star weekend. Let's give everybody a break since we're miserable this time. Kevin Durant is right in a sense because people say they want hoops. People say they love the game of basketball. They love the NBA, but they really don't. They love the theatrics of it. They love NBA trade deadline. They love free agency. They love trades that go on. They love all that stuff. They love the drama. They love when players request out and want to go to a new space. They love all that. The 10,000 mock different trade scenarios that people coming up and the analysts and the media talking about. That's what they love. They don't love actual hoop. They don't love actual ball. And you know when I realized that was when we got the most authentic hoops probably in the history of the NBA in the bubble in 2020. Strictly basketball, everybody healthy, no distractions, everybody down there hooping. And as soon as that, everybody was talking about how phenomenal that was. As soon as that was over, with people talking about, oh, the bubble don't count. The bubble ring, all because LeBron James and Los Angeles Lakers won the championship in the year that Kobe Bryant passed. Because people missed he had to focus on the actual product, he had to focus on the actual game. But as soon as that was gone and all the narratives and agendas and conversations and media members talking about this trade and this story going on, that's when everybody was like, oh, yeah, the bubble sucked. The bubble was whack. They don't love pure basketball. They don't love pure hoops. People just going to complain because at the end of the day, the NBA has become the WWE. It's an entertainment product. It's a drama product. The league is about drama. It ain't about hoops. And that's the problem. And so I 1,000% agree with Kevin Durant and the things that he's saying. And it also speaks to what I was talking about earlier for us, people in the chat talking about Cheryl Swoops is jealous and she's hating on Caitlin Clark. That ain't nothing different than what we see on the everyday basis with the NBA and the people that's covering the game. We hear LeBron James, we heard Stephen A. Smith say, LeBron James, I'm begging you about his son. All right, that's all for entertainment. We hear Charles Barkley constantly talk about people being hurt. They call Anthony Davis street clothes. We hear Shaq constantly talking about certain things. Like we hear all these legends constantly talking about things outside of basketball because hate sells. That's why people are so fixated on social media and online to make hateful comments, talk shit, talk about narratives, talk agenda, spew all that because that's going to get them retweets. That's going to get them likes. When you talk about the love, when you talk about hoops is hoop, regardless of all that other bullshit that people are talking about, when you keep it strictly focused on the product, when you talk about the X's and O's, when you're talking about the systems, when you talk about the difference between the modern day game for it's the analytic style basketball in comparison to the 2000s for is the reason why efficiency, you had great players like Kobe Bryant who shot 44.5% for his career, was the fact of the matter of the era that he played in, the toughest dead ball era, two bigs in the paint. And also Kobe Bryant was probably the only player in NBA history that never had a legitimate guard that can shot create for him and take the pressure off of him. But people are going to talk about, oh, this player wasn't efficient because this era allows for pace and space, allows for you can't put a hand on a defender, no hand checking. There's so much room to operate. Players are more skilled and advanced as ever. But this athlete, he's shooting 55% for the field, and his effective field goal percentage is 59, 60% in totality. And he's doing all these great things, and he has all these MVPs, and he has all these all NBA selections, and he's better than this player. But they don't talk about the context of the situation. They don't talk about the team scenarios or the team situations. They don't talk about the era. So when we having conversations, are we talking about legitimately basketball, Because I can talk about basketball with anybody. I love talking about this game. I love the passion. I have a lot of passion for this game. This game saved my life. I was a kid in the hood, a kid that went to a all-white school, part of a DSEC program that took inner city black kids and placed them into better school districts to give them a better education. And also I use sports and education as a way to get myself out of a horrible environment. So I know what basketball has done for me, but people don't want to hear that. People don't want to hear the things that I just mentioned. People want to hear about all the hate, all the agendas, all the entertainment. That's why I'm an independent. That's why, regardless of the fact that I've worked for the NBA, the Brooklyn Nets, have served as Slam's first ever basketball podcast host, have my own show with Slam. It's going to be a little harder for me as an independent to have certain opportunities, advancement in my career, because of the fact of the matter is I'm not talking about hate. I'm not shitting on people. I'm talking about the beauty, the essence of the game, actual basketball product. And one day I'm going to get there, God willing. And with the help of YouTube and help of you guys, checking in and tuning into live streams and also social media platforms as well. I'm using social media platforms as a way, as a tool, as an instrument to get me where I want to be, by being my authentic self. And this does not mean that people got to always agree with what I say, because it's opinion. But at the same time, you ain't going to hear me never bash players, really bash coaches, really talk about anything other than the game of basketball and the context surrounding those things, because that's what I feel like is missing. And that's the problem with the overall coverage around the sport of basketball, and particularly in the NBA. So that's here nor there. I mean, I appreciate y'all. If y'all got any other questions in the chat, and All-Star weekend. A lot of people are talking about the All-Star weekend. Kevin Durant came out and said what he said. Basically, just give us the week off. At this point, you might as well, because the context. Let's talk about context. People like to talk about nostalgia a lot. Yes, there was good games, great All-Star games. Yes, there were bad All-Star games. That's just the truth. I think the switching of the format gets old. This is like the third format that Adam Silver has switched in the past, 4 or 5 years. I like the format with the target score. I like players picking their own players. But the problem is, when we talk about participation, you got to throw up money. You got to throw up the bag. You want players to the NBA is making so much money. That's why we saw 36 minutes of actual basketball playing on the court and another 2 hours for his commercials, Kevin Hart and Mr. Beast. They're making so much money on commercials and ad dollars. Okay, that's fine. You want to shorten the actual All-Star weekend basketball game itself. Okay, but let's make it where we're using some of that ad revenue that we're making and that we're showing on a constant basis. Let's use some of that to make the stakes a little higher. 3-point contest, let's up the price. Slam dunk contest, let's make it $1,500,000, $500,000 to $1 million. Let's up the price. We saw what Unrivaled did in the popularity of the one-on-one tournament. Let's put that into the NBA. Let's bring that in. Let's make that $500,000 to $1 million. That's going to draw a lot of attention. That's going to draw a lot of players. Like, okay, because like the in-season tournament, the in-season tournament is a success because players are playing for money. Because regardless of the fact that you got millionaires on your team, you got superstar players that $1 million may not be nothing to them, but you got some people on the bench that are two-way players that aren't making that much money. $1 million means so much to them, and they want to compete for those guys, and those guys want to compete as well. But also $1 million is different than $100,000 to an NBA player. $1 million can do a lot of things that $100,000 can't do for an NBA player. Let's up it up. Let's up the ante. That's when if you start adding more money, adding more funds, I guarantee you will see more participation for some of the best players in the world. And that may not be the superstars, but it'll be the next tier, definitely. Say put a one-on-one tournament in the NBA and say it's $1 million. See what's gonna happen. You're gonna have everybody trying to compete. You're gonna be having everybody throwing their name out, and the NBA gonna have to pick. They got to probably select out of 200 people because 200 people gonna want to participate because it's more money. And then we talk about one-on-one. We talking about like if a potential hypothetical one-on-one, let's say a one-on-one does happen, right? Hypothetically. So I saw Joe. Let me show you something. Let's react to this because I saw this list and I'm not really feeling. Let's.
I chose 8 players and I used a list randomizer for seeding. Our 1 versus 8.
So this is Jason. Knows basketball. He's on volume. I don't really agree with everything that he says a lot, but he does know the game. And once again, we can agree to disagree. It's all opinion based, but listen to him and also following him. He knows the game of basketball. That's 100% fact. But we're talking about hypotheticals, right? So my hypothetical is $1 million, same rules as Unrivaled, and the best of the best are going to compete. But this is Jason's hypothetical one-on-one list, and I'm going to give you my top 5 best one-on-one players that I would like to see that I think can win a one-on-one tournament. I don't agree with his list at all, but let's go over it.
Is Jokic versus SGA. I think Jokic takes this matchup relatively easily. And Shea shoots 54% on jumpers inside of 17 feet, but he's probably not going to go 6 for 6. So Jokic is going to get the ball. Once Jokic gets the ball, Shea has like quite literally no way of stopping him from getting just a bunch of layups.
And that's the thing. When we talk about one-on-one, when we talk about one-on-one is not just going to be in particular somebody backing the basket down. That's why the rules will have to come into play. A shot clock is going to have to be had because also it's not going to be – I don't think it should be like the first to 12 either. It'd probably be 2s and 3s, similar to Unrivaled. But let's go over. He said Joker's being an
Our 4 versus 5 matchup, Luka Doncic versus Jason Tatum. This is a much closer matchup in my opinion. Luka would basically have to concede pull-up jump shots to Tatum because if he plays up on him – he'll get blown by. But we also saw Luka repeatedly cook Jason Tatum one-on-one. I'm going to go with Luka here slightly. Our 2 versus 7, Anthony Edwards versus LeBron James.
I'm going to be honest. Neither Luka or Nikola Jokic, if it's a one-on-one, is winning a one-on-one tournament.
I think Ant takes this one. To be clear, I would take prime LeBron over Ant. But in this format, in the year 2026, I'm going to take Ant to advance. 3 versus 6, Kevin Durant versus Giannis Antetokounmpo. This is a very interesting matchup. So I actually do think Giannis would give KD some issues when Giannis had the ball. But KD does have the length to bother Giannis around the rim a bit. And I just think KD would do more damage to Giannis when KD has the ball than Giannis would do to KD in return. So I have KD advancing. Our second round, Jokic is just so much bigger than Luka. I think he'd be able to force Luka into tougher shots further from the rim.
Yo, I'm telling y'all, just because you are the best basketball player in the world, it's a different game when it's one-on-one in comparison to 5-on-5.
I think Luka would be more susceptible to variance in this matchup, and I still think Jokic can bully Luka really close to the rim. So I have Jokic advancing cleanly here to the championship. Our 2 versus 6 matchup, Anthony Edwards versus Kevin Durant. This would be an epic matchup. I talked earlier about Ant's ability to be a top-tier downhill threat while also a top-tier shooting threat and how that makes players make a decision. But Kevin Durant has top-tier length. That gives him the best ability out of any player on this list to give space to contain the drive while also having the length to contest pull-up jump shots. Even though I think Ant is excellent in this format, I think KD is kind of his kryptonite in this matchup. So I have KD advancing to the championship. And then our championship would be Nikola Jokic versus Kevin Durant. I think this is a super interesting one because I don't think either player has much of a chance at all to guard the other. And again, I just think KD's game is just built for this format. He's always been one of the best defensive players in the league when he's engaged. And I think he's the best one-on-one offensive player in the history of the league. I think he barely beats Jokic, but I think KD beats Jokic with a combination of short jump shots, nasty counter moves, while just forcing Jokic into 1 or 2 misses closer.
Shout out to Jason for this. But I'm going to be real. It ain't no way in hell, and I'm going to get to you, Joseph, in a second. It ain't no way in hell that Jokic is going to go to the finals for a one-on-one matchup. Look at Jokic and the way he plays at the All-Star games. Jokic is a 5-on-5 player. He's not a one-on-one player. I know he's unguardable in one-on-one post-ups and scenarios and situations, but the thing about one-on-one is it's a quick style play. Also, you get into a player's mind. Also, it's going to be times where people are going to be like, you ain't going to shoot that, back away, dare you to shoot. It's all those types of things that will happen in a one-on-one format, as well as defense has to be played. You have to get a stop eventually. Whether it's one, whether it's two, whether it's three, somebody has to be able to get a stop. If you can't move your feet laterally, if you can't play any defense at all, you're going to miss eventually. So the thing about that is, if you're Luka, if you are James Harden, if you are Nikola Jokic, and I think James Harden would fare better in a one-on-one tournament than Nikola Jokic and Luka Doncic, given the fact that he is a more capable defender than those two, especially James Harden in the post in his prime back in the Houston Rockets days of post-ups. He was one of the best post defenders in league during his tenure with the Houston Rockets in the post defense only, not talking about perimeter. But I don't think that they will be able to win a one-on-one game strictly with just not stopping anybody. It's not realistic. And that's when we come to talk about one-on-one for as a favorable matchup. It's like you have to be able to stop somebody. You have to be able to defend. And that's why it's saying like Luka Doncic and Nikola Jokic going far in a tournament, a one-on-one tournament, as great as they are offensively, and them being top, Nikola Jokic's best player in the world, arguably. Some people are going to say Giannis, of course, but top 5 basketball players in the world, those players, I don't feel like they would dominate in a one-on-one matchup, in a one-on-one game. And they're extremely gifted. They're extremely talented. Don't get me wrong. But I just don't think it ain't sweet playing one-on-one. It's not sweet. Their lateral quickness matters. Like James Harden's defense is solid enough that he would be able to fare better, especially in his prime, in a one-on-one tournament. And I think James Harden is one of the most best one-on-one players of all time. But on a perimeter base one-on-one, Nikola Jokic, it's just like he's not going to be able to back down every possession, because I guarantee you a defender is not going to allow him to back down every possession. The defender is going to dare Nikola Jokic to shoot. Like, and also quick shot creation in one-on-one is very key. That's when Nikola Jokic will be at a disadvantage. And also he lacks the explosiveness at times, and his defense will be an issue. That's just a fact. And same thing with Luka Doncic as far as lateral quickness as well. So let's get into me. Four is my top 5, one-on-one basketball players. And everybody's talking about the one-on-one tournament with Unrivaled and how fun that was, how excited it was, electric that was. And now we got people talking about, what if the NBA has that? One, I don't think the NBA is ever going to do it unless the money is there. Talking $500,000, $1 million, that would get players to participate and to lock in. If they get the money up, players will come. But it's because that's the only way you're going to get the stars probably more likely to attend and to want to compete is that money. You get it to $1 million, you're going to have something on your hands in the NBA. But one-on-one is such a different style of play in comparison to 5-on-5. Nick Young in his prime would be one of the greatest one-on-one players of all time. If it was a tournament, I'm probably throwing my money on Nick Young if he was going to play. Cam Reddish, I have a clip on AKIDS NBA on my threads of Cam Reddish cooking everybody in the Lakers practice facility. So one-on-one is a very, very different game. Role players look like superstars in one-on-one. But for a one-on-one tournament, if I had to pick my 5 best players that could go out and win a one-on-one tournament, this is no order, but got to roll with Kyrie Irving. And I know Kyrie Irving is a capable defender on the perimeter. We've seen Kyrie Irving lock up when it matters the most, and he's probably the best ISO scorer this league has ever seen. His finishing package is impeccable. His footwork is impeccable. Also, his shot variation and creation ability is second to none. He is the most skilled basketball player to ever play the game. And when I say that, you know how I feel about Kobe Bryant. I still would probably want Kobe Bryant overall in totality. But Kyrie Irving is the most skilled basketball player to ever play the game. If we're talking everybody with the same height, the same position, who would be the most skilled basketball player to ever play this game of basketball, Kyrie Irving will be the GOAT. That's how cold he is. That's how electric he is. LeBron James, even at the age of 40 years old, he's too quick for bigs to guard. He's too strong for smaller players to defend, a unique combination of bully ball as well as being able to shoot over smaller players and bigger players as well for his overall strength and ability to attack the rim, even though his athleticism is still there, even though he's at 40 years old. I still think you would have to give LeBron James a shot even at the age of 40 years old. Then Jason Tatum, a smooth scorer with elite size, handle making ability, and also can defend. He can score in 3 levels, every variation on the basketball court: post, mid-range, 3-point, fadeaway, backing down, quick handle, get to the rim, get to the cup. He can do it all. And he can defend at a very, very high level using his size and his length. He would be dangerous. Kevin Durant, of course. Kevin Durant, arguably the greatest scorer of all time in a lot of people's eyes. Nearly 7 feet tall, can shoot over almost any player in NBA histories outside of Giannis and outside of Wembanyama. But there's no way you can really truly stop Kevin Durant. You know, he can score over anyone and he can defend at a high level. So that's 4: Kyrie, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Jason Tatum. My fifth one, I'm going to say, even though out of all these players I mentioned, the Luka Doncic, the Nikola Jokic, the James Harden, the LeBron James, the Jason Tatums, the Kyrie Irvings, I'm going to mention Giannis. Even though his shooting ability, I feel like he will miss shots and he would struggle a bit with his shooting. When he put his head down and attacking the rim, the lift, the athleticism, he's nearly unstoppable. And he can defend. So long as he can get some of those defensive stops that I talked about, because a lot of times people think one-on-one is just strictly just offensive repertoire and get into your spots and get into your money, which it mostly is. You still have to be able to get stops, timely stops. And Giannis will be able to get stops. And even if the opposing offensive player blows by him, he's quick enough to use his length and his size to really kind of catch up to that player and throw that shit off the glass. So honorable mention, Victor Wembanyama. Worry about his perimeter defense as well and his overall, his lateral movement. I don't know. I think he would still be a unguardable one-on-one potential player to pick for him as well. Another honorable mention, Stephen Curry, deadly shooter, pure one-on-one. It gets hard, it gets very tricky. You know, I think he would struggle maybe against bigger opponents a little bit on the defensive side, but honorable mention, Wembanyama and Stephen Curry. That's who I would say. But no, I appreciate how much money for Portland, Toronto to enter can or should the win have a hard cap moving forward. Luxury tax, perhaps. New CBA should allow more players for Europe to come join the WN. That should help expansion. Cleveland with 250 purchase price per year. Cleveland, yeah. Cleveland is going to have a new team in 2028 for the WNBA. The new CBA it's definitely going to be the collective bargaining agreement and the Players Association, because I think they could be in a strike this upcoming year. Because we already seen Caitlin Clark's agent come out and say that the WNBA doesn't have enough money to really ever pay Caitlin Clark what she's worth. And that's similar to LeBron James. That's similar to Stephen Curry. My last stream, I talked about Stephen Curry in the All-Star game, being in San Francisco, and everything that Stephen Curry has meant to the city of San Francisco / Oakland, and everything that he's kind of brought to that city. The franchise value for the Golden State Warriors is second to the Dallas Cowboys. Do you know how much money that is? I think it's like $7.7 billion that franchise is worth. That's largely due to Stephen Curry. So if you're the WNBA, you're a player association, what you need to be trying to get in your next deal while the iron is hot, while you have Caitlin Clark, a transcendent figure, you need to be trying to figure out a way to get some equity within ownership for certain players, because Stephen Curry should have ownership with the Golden State Warriors. They can never pay Stephen Curry enough how much he brought that franchise. The Cleveland Cavaliers can never pay LeBron James enough for all the things that he's brought for that franchise while he was playing with them. Like it's certain figures, transcending figures and talents that deserve that. But unfortunately, collective bargaining agreement is real. And it states that if a player is playing for a particular team, he can't have ownership stake. This deal that the WNBA is going to have to, and the Players Association, they're going to have to really, really like lock in to try to get a good deal, a great deal for player salaries to increase because they have Caitlin Clark, and that is extremely key. That's why I was a little upset at Caitlin Clark and her agent coming out and saying all these things. Is kind of like, yeah, I hear what you said, but like, where were you at with that 8-year, $28 million deal from Nike shoe deal? Because that's already super undervalued. Super undervalued. Anything Caitlin Clark signs, endorses, sells out. It's her. Caitlin Clark has the potential to be the new Kanye West in the shoe deal with Nike for her shoes. They will sell out like this. Retail is going to be like this. It's going to be insane. 8-year, $28 million. Hopefully she got a buyout in year 2 or year. Hopefully she got a buyout by year 4 because it's going to be insane. Her shoe deal, her marketability. Caitlin Clark, we talking about $100 million. That should have been $50 million for this go round. Should have been the starting point. But her next deal, we're talking about $100 million. I'm pretty sure she has a buyout clause or an option, but somebody's going to give Caitlin Clark $100 million for endorsements. She's that big. She is right now. People are talking about the NBA. Stephen A. Smith came out and said, I don't believe that an international player that can be the face of the league, and the NBA is basically crying for American face of the league because basketball is an American sport. Baseball is an American sport. That's just the way the cookie crumbles. And Stephen A. Smith is right. He's right. But the problem is the face of basketball is already American. Face of basketball isn't an international player. The face of basketball doesn't even participate in the NBA. The face of basketball is Caitlin Clark. Appreciate y'all for locking in. It's been over an hour, man. Dang, we've been streaming. I love y'all. Make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on AKIS, NBA, and all the social media platforms. Remember, faith without works is dead. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not into your own understanding. For always acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. Always remember, Jesus is king. I'm gone. Truth tellers in the chat. I really appreciate y'all. All my wizards in the chat commenting. You already know, man. I'm gone. Peace.